Hello and welcome back. And in this video, we are going to be creating basically a custom modifier or view modifier to create pop-up view. Okay, and by building this, we're also going to understand how view modifiers are used in SwiftUI. So in SwiftUI, a view modifier, let's jump into its definition. So a view modifier basically is a protocol that enables us to encapsulate a collection of modifications or behaviors for a view into a reusable component. Now, instead of repeatedly applying a series of modifiers such as padding, background, font, and so on to multiple views, we can create custom modifier that combines all these behaviors and then apply it in a single reusable fashion. There are several benefits of view modifier. One of the benefit is reusability, where it can encapsulate repeated view styling or logic into a single modifier. It helps you write clean code, avoiding cluttering our views with the code with the repeated modifiers. It helps us define custom behavior where we can implement complex and conditional view changes. The view modifier protocol requires us to conform to view modifier protocol, implementing the body content method, which takes a view as an input and returns the modified version of the view. So you can see that content as a view type is accepted as the input, and self.body is returned, which is the content type, which is again a view type. So modified view is returned back to the caller. Now, before we build our custom pop-up, let's understand the view modifier a little bit better with a view example. Okay, so we're gonna build two examples and then we're gonna build our custom modifier. Let me take this one out. And we're gonna get started with our first example. Our first example will focus on creating a custom view modifier for adding padding, a background color, and a corner radius. Okay, so we're gonna start by writing our view modifier. So I'm gonna write it right underneath this preview. So in order for us to write view modifier or create view modifier, we are simply going to create a struct. Let's call this one rounded background modifier. We're going to make it conform to view modifier protocol, and we're going to help, basically take help writing the body, and then we're going to update this a bit. Okay, so content is being passed in as the view on which the styling needs to be applied. Okay, so we actually add additional modifiers, like we're gonna add padding. Let's add a background of maybe orange color. Okay, and let's set the corner radius as 20 points. Okay, so this is basically what our view modifier looks like. Next, we'll create an extension to the view protocol for us to easily call this view modifier, just like any other view modifiers are called. For example, if you have padding, that means there is somewhere an extension that is defined inside the view protocol for padding to be called in this format. Okay, otherwise you're gonna have to call the modifier called modifier, and then you can pass in the rounded background modifier. Now this also works, so let's go ahead and take a look. I had an issue with the project, so that's why it was not building, but now it should be building here. So right now our view is going to be called, and as you can see, we have padding, we have background, and corner radius all defined for this text view. Okay, now we can call our modifier like this, or to make it convenient to write, we can actually create an extension in the view protocol, and this will be basically our function that we're gonna call. So we're gonna call rounded background. This will not take any input or any parameter, and it will return some sort of view. Okay, we're gonna call our modifier on self. Okay, now we can call our custom modifier just like any other modifier that we would call in SwiftUI. Okay, so this is how we can use our custom modifier, or we can write our custom modifier. Now let me show you that there are two different views that we can use this simultaneously without repeating ourselves for, like, padding, background, and corner radius. Now this makes it easy for us to refactor this code at a later point when, let's say, we don't want like background to be orange but maybe indigo. Okay, so we can easily change in a single place, and all the changes are reflected everywhere where this modifier or view modifier is used. Okay, now we can parameterize this view modifier by making it dynamic in nature, to make it dynamic in nature. Okay, so what we can do is we can have this view modifier accept a couple of parameters. So for example, we can have it accept background color, and corner radius. Now you can see that we are actually receiving this error where view extension, which is creating another function, is expected to pass in these values. So we're gonna first fix this, and I'm gonna copy this and paste it right here, because we expect user to pass in the same values. So we're gonna say this is gonna be a color type, and this is gonna be a CG float type, and for the modifier call, we're gonna pass the color that we have received, or the background color that we have received, and corner radius that we have received from this function call. Okay, so with that, we are seeing an error here. So let's go ahead and fix this. We're gonna fix this by setting the background color for this one as orange, giving it corner radius of 10, and let's go ahead and wait for Xcode to catch up, and we're gonna fix this error by setting the background color for the other text view to be indigo and corner radius to be 20. Okay, so now you can see that our view modifier is custom in nature, is dynamic in nature. It can adapt to the changes that we are expecting to pass in. Well, not yet, because although we have actually parameterized our view modifier, but we have not used these. So let's go ahead and use them. There we go. So now you can see that both of these changes are reflected, and now your view modifier is able to accept custom values, basically values that actually define your views better. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at another example where we will try to add take a look at another example to add logic to custom modifier, where we conditionally apply styling based on a parameter. Okay, so we're gonna come down here and going to create a new struct, and this struct is going to be called conditional modifier. Once again, we will conform to ViewModifier protocol, and we're going to first define the condition. This is basically a boolean called isActive, and it is basically going to help us define when the content should be active and when it should not be. Okay, so we're going to set our body content property or function, and here we're going to first create an H stack. Inside the H stack, first we're going to show the content, and then we're going to show an image. Okay, image is going to be a system image called checkmark. Okay, and let's go ahead and create an extension here for this conditional modifier as well, so we can see this in action while we are building the view. Okay, so we're going to call this view as conditional styling, conditional style, and we are going to expect isActive to be passed in, which is a boolean type, and inside the modifier we're going to call conditional modifier isActive, just pass isActive that has been received from the function call. Okay, now I'm going to comment these, or actually we can just leave it here. Let's change this. Visit devtechie.com, create a new text. Okay, and this text is going to be called subscribe. Okay, all right, so as you can see, our subscribe text is just plain in style. So let's go ahead and apply our conditional style. We're going to set isActive to true for now, so we can basically see as we type our styling out. Okay, so as you can see now, we have the content shown up here. Content is basically the view on which this styling is being applied, and then the additional input or additional view that we are creating next to it, which in this case is an image. Now we're gonna add some padding, and this padding is gonna be of 10 points. Okay, and we're gonna add some background. And this background is going to be a red color in rounded rectangle. Let's set the corner radius as 5 points. Okay, and then we're gonna set the offset of this based on isActive state. So for the X value, we're gonna say isActive, then we're gonna display it negative 15 points offset, otherwise negative 50 offset. Okay, so it's gonna go behind this. Then we're gonna set the opacity, and we're gonna say isActive. If it is true, then we want to show this, otherwise we want to hide this. We also want to create an animation, ease in and out, and the value that we're gonna basically track for this animation is going to be isActive. Okay, now what we can do is we can basically go back into our view and we can stylize this view. Okay, so we're gonna say we want a button, and this button is going to have an action. The action is essentially toggling some state. Okay, so we're gonna come back to that one in a little bit. Now here what we're gonna do is for the label we're gonna create an H stack inside this h tag, we're going to create our text. And this text is going to be called subscribe. Let's make this text case as uppercase. And let's make this bold. Let's also add an image with system name as bell.fill. Okay, so we have an image with bell.fill. Now we're going to set the foreground style to be white color. Set the padding as 10 points and background of red color inside a rounded rectangle with corner radius as 5 points. Okay, and now we have basically our conditional check. Okay, so now if I set this to false, notice that our subscribe check mark is gone. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this into a dynamic behavior by creating a state property called private var is active, and we're going to set it as false initially, and we're going to simply call is active here. And this button, whenever it's tabbed, we're going to change the is active state and toggle it to its other value. Okay, so now you can, so if you tap on it, let's see. Okay, so my Xcode crashed. Let's try it again. Okay, so I had to restart the Xcode, but now you can see that whenever a user taps on the button, you actually get the check mark fly in. Okay, so these are like basically some of the things that you can do with ViewModifier. Now it's time to write our pop-up. Okay, so let's go ahead and start writing the pop-up or custom pop-up using ViewModifier. All right, so now when we have the knowledge of basics and we are ready to build these view modifiers, let's go ahead and take a look into the custom dialog that we've been talking about. So we'll start with the view modifier, and this view modifier will be a generic type taking model content type. So model content will be any type that conforms to view protocol. So essentially we will pass in any view into this view modifier. Okay, so you're gonna see another variation for this view modifier. So right here, what we're gonna do is we will simply move this out in another struct, view modifier examples, like this, and I'm gonna just cut the whole thing and paste it here. Let's create a body. Okay, all right, so we are now ready to build out our new view modifiers. So we're gonna start with a new struct. We're gonna call this pop-up view modifier. Pop-up view modifier, and it's not a test. Okay, so let's go ahead and define this as a generic. Okay, so the way generics work is basically you actually give it a type. You constrain your generic with a type, and as long as that type has been passed in, we'd be able to basically use that variable or use that custom defined type anywhere within the body. Okay, so for the generic type, so for example, we're gonna have something called model content here. Okay, content. This is gonna be of type view. So anything that conforms to view can use pop-up view modifier and pass in a view as basically the parameter. Okay, so we're gonna conform to view modifier protocol. Okay, and there are a few things that we're gonna do. We're gonna take a binding for is presented. This is gonna be a boolean. Okay, then we're gonna create a variable for model content. This is going to be of type model content, and we're going to have a state variable is animated. Okay, and this is going to be false. Okay, now we're going to create our function which is the body, and I'm going to remove everything that predictive model has generated. And let's go ahead and start typing. So we're gonna basically take our content, create a full screen cover on this. So full screen cover, we're gonna use the overload, which is presented, and we're gonna pass our is presented here. For the content of, like, you know, this full screen cover, we're gonna say if is animated. Okay, then take the model content instance and apply a transition to this. Okay, so the transition that is going to be applied is going to be the move transition from the edge top. We're going to combine this with scale transition. Okay, now if the animation is animated is false, in that case we're going to have a z stack, which is going to have nothing but presentation background is gonna be clear. Okay, so we're not gonna have any sort of background in this full screen cover. Okay, so this is basically for our content. Now outside of the full screen cover modifier, we're gonna add a transaction. Okay, and this transaction will actually give us ability to disable animation. Okay, so if is animated is false, okay, is equal false. If that is the case, then we're gonna take the transaction and disable any animations on that. Okay, now we're gonna observe the is presented. So on change of is presented. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a dispatch queue. And we are going to basically go into the main thread async after the deadline, and the deadline is going to be from now, adding 0.01. okay, and what we're going to execute, we're going to execute a closure as a part of this after, like, you know, this deadline is passed. Okay, that closure is going to be with animation. The animation is going to be bouncy, and the completion block is going to take the is animated and update it with the new value. Okay, so this is basically what our modifier is going to look like. Based on the state change for is animated, we are going to show the pop-up or hide the pop-up. Okay, now next thing we're going to do is we're going to create that extension for the convenience over in the view protocol, and we're going to create a function called pop view. Okay, and again, we're going to take model content as the generic type, not as the parameter. Okay, and we are basically going to take is presented, which is a Boolean type, and content, so model content as escaping content. So let's go ahead and update this. So we're going to say is Boolean. Let's update this content. This is going to be an escaping closure returning model content. Okay, and now this whole thing returns some view. Okay, and that some view is basically returned from the modifier call self.modifier. Pop up view modifier, we're going to pass is presented. So is presented the way it's passed in, we're simply going to pass it back into the function, and we're also going to do the same thing for content. There we go. And let's execute this. There we go. Okay, so this is our convenience function. Next, we will create our first dialog view, the view that we want to pass in to the model content. Okay, so we're going to create the dialog view, and dialog view is going to be called custom dialog view. We're going to confirm through the view protocol. Let's get the environment property for dismiss. Create few more properties like image, title, subtitle, and close button text. Okay, and inside the body, what we're going to do is we're going to create first a VStack. Inside this VStack, we're going to create another one where we're going to show our image. We're going to make it resizable. Aspect ratio, let's set it to fit. Let's set the frame width and height as 24 and 24 for the image. Set the foreground style, foreground style as the white color. Padding is 12 points, and a background of yellow color in a circle. There we go. Okay, next we're going to create a text, which is going to be a title. For the title that's been passed in, we're going to create another text, which is going to display the subtitle. Let's set the font for title as large title and make it bold. For subtitle, font is going to be body. Okay, and we're gonna have multi-line text alignment on this one as center. Okay, let's add some padding and we space it in between. Then we're gonna add a button, which is gonna be close button text, whatever the text needs to be provided, and we're gonna call dismiss on this. Okay, then we're gonna use some new modifiers. For example, container relative frame in vertical axis, and we get height, and we get width, and we're only interested in height, so we're gonna say height divided by 3. So third of the height is the frame, is what the frame is gonna look like for the vertical direction. For the horizontal axis, we're gonna have width and we're gonna say width divided by 1.2. Okay, and then we're gonna have a background, and background is going to be thin material in a rectangle with corner radius as 20 points, style as continuous, and last modifier presentation background, the style is going to be clear. Okay, so basically this is our custom view that we're going to pass in to our main view, which is gonna be, so this is basically the custom view for model content. Okay, now let's go back into our custom pop-up. Okay, and here we're gonna create a state variable, state private var is presented, and we're gonna set it as false. We're gonna move this inside a vstack. So vstack hello techie dot large font, large title. We're gonna put a spacer in between. Then we're gonna have a button, show dialog, and with animation we're gonna basically toggle the is presented. Okay, and then we're gonna add another spacer. Basically this is gonna move our button in the middle. Okay, and now in this whole vstack we're gonna add our pop-up view. Okay, now pop-up view takes is presented as the binding property, so we're gonna pass is presented. For the content, which is basically the model content that we're expecting, we're gonna pass custom dialog view. The one takes image, so we're gonna say image is system name heart.fill string devtechie.com visit https://www.devtechie.com, and the close button is okay. All right, so now we have basically passed all the values that we needed to pass inside our custom dialog box, and it's time to test out our flow. So as you can see that our view is popping up and is showing that modal dialog, and you cannot click anywhere. You have to click OK to go back into the scene. So now you have basically built a custom view modifier where you can pass in your custom views to display all the content and control how it should look like, the pop-up view should look like. So the entire view is in your control. For example, if I go back in the view and instead of putting a vstack here, what if I put an H stack? Okay, I just change the view, and there we have it. Like, although it doesn't look that great, so let's move a few things around. Maybe I'll actually move these two inside an H stack, and now we get like a new view, a new looking view. So this is highly customizable, where you can pass in your own custom view to create all the custom dialogues for your app. Okay, with that, we have reached the end of this video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video. Thank you.